Love had always been a fragile thing, delicately held together by trust. I thought my marriage was unbreakable, fortified by years of devotion, passion, and unwavering loyalty. My wife, Laura, was everything I ever wanted: stunning, intelligent, and irresistibly charming. From the moment we met, she had captivated me, drawing me into a world where love felt effortless. Every morning, I woke beside her, tangled in the warmth of our shared bed. Her hazel eyes sparkled as she murmured sleepy greetings, lips curling into the familiar smile that once made my heart race. We built a life together, one filled with quiet moments, stolen kisses, and promises whispered in the dark. But love, I would soon realize, is nothing more than a mirage. A beautiful illusion, masking a desert of lies. Our 6-year-old son, Ethan, was the light of my life. With boundless energy and an infectious laugh, he had a way of making every day brighter. I had never questioned his parentage. Why would I? He was my boy, my pride, my purpose. Still, nagging doubts began creeping into my mind, uninvited and relentless. Ethan's features, his sharp cheekbones, piercing blue eyes, and dimpled chin, looked familiar, yet disturbingly foreign. I tried to shake the thought, convincing myself I was overanalyzing. Then, one evening, everything changed. It was a quiet night. Laura was curled up on the couch, sipping red wine, her gaze locked onto some mindless drama on television. Ethan had already fallen asleep in his room, his soft snores filtering through the baby monitor, a habit he hadn't outgrown. I had been organizing old photo albums, flipping through years of memories, when I stumbled upon a picture of my best friend, Daniel. Something about the image made my breath hitch. My hands tightened around the leather-bound album as realization dawned. Ethan's resemblance to Daniel was undeniable. The shape of his nose, the arch of his brows, the unmistakable blue eyes, identical to Daniel's. A chill ran down my spine. I tried to dismiss the absurd thought creeping into my brain. It was impossible. Laura would never betray me like that. And Daniel? He was my closest friend, practically my brother. But the doubt festered. The next day, I ordered a DNA test. It was supposed to be a precaution, a way to silence my growing paranoia. 2 weeks passed. The results arrived in an unassuming white envelope. I sat alone at the kitchen table, hands trembling as I tore it open. My eyes darted across the page, scanning the words until they struck me like a freight train. Probability of paternity, 0%. The room spun. My vision blurred. My heart slammed against my ribs, threatening to shatter completely. I read it again, and again. But the truth didn't change. Ethan wasn't mine. My breath came in ragged gasps. A bitter taste coated my tongue. Every tender moment, every cherished memory, suddenly felt tainted. A rage unlike anything I had ever known burned through me. My wife, my partner, my supposed soulmate, had betrayed me in the most unforgivable way. My best friend had taken what was mine, leaving behind a lie wrapped in innocence. The woman I loved had been lying to me for years. I clenched the paper so tightly my knuckles turned white. My vision tunneled. The anger clawing at my chest threatened to consume me whole. But amidst the devastation, one thought remained clear. They would pay. The rage inside me simmered, controlled yet potent, as I sat at the dinner table, my gaze fixed on Laura. She had no idea her carefully woven web of lies had unraveled. She smiled at me, completely unaware of the storm about to hit. "Dinner's ready," she said, placing a plate in front of me. "I made your favorite, steak with garlic butter." The scent filled the room, but my appetite had long disappeared. I watched her closely, every movement, every blink of her hazel eyes now tainted with betrayal. My fingers tightened around the fork as I forced a small smile. "I ordered a DNA test," I said, keeping my voice calm. The color drained from her face. Her hands froze mid-motion, and for a split second I saw it, the unmistakable flicker of fear. What?" Her voice barely registered above a whisper. I pulled the folded paper from my pocket, sliding it across the table. I needed to check if Ethan inherited my genetic conditions. A lie, but I wanted to see her reaction before revealing the truth. She hesitated before picking it up. Her fingers trembled as she unfolded the document, her eyes scanning the contents. The room fell silent, save for the faint hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of Ethan's cartoons playing in the living room. Then, the sob hit her. A soft, broken sound. "I can explain," she choked out, her eyes darting to mine, pleading. "Don't," I cut her off. "I want the truth." Tears spilled down her cheeks as she clutched the paper. "It was a mistake." I let out a bitter laugh, pushing my chair back. "A mistake." My voice dripped with venom. "You carried this mistake for 9 months. Raised him. Lied to me every single day." "I love you," she whispered, reaching for my hand. I recoiled, disgusted. A sharp knock at the door made her flinch. My heart pounded in anticipation. Right on time. I got up, walked to the door, and swung it open. There he was, Daniel, looking as relaxed as ever, holding a 6-pack of beer. "Hey man," he greeted, stepping inside. "You sounded weird on the phone. Everything good?" I shut the door behind him, locking it with a slow click. "Have a seat." I gestured toward the table. His eyebrows furrowed as he took in Laura's tear-streaked face. His gaze flicked to me, uneasy. "What's going on?" I tossed the DNA results onto the table. "You tell me." Silence. His expression shifted from confusion to panic. He grabbed the paper with shaking hands, scanning the words. I watched him closely, savoring the moment as realization dawned. He exhaled sharply. "Look, Save it." My voice was cold. "How long?" Laura sobbed harder, her hands covering her face. Daniel swallowed hard, running a hand through his hair. "It wasn't planned." "Not planned." I laughed, the sound hollow. "You slept with my wife. My best friend. The mother of my child. Except he's not even mine, is he?" Daniel clenched his jaw, guilt written all over his face. "I never wanted to hurt you." My fingers twitched, itching to make him feel even a fraction of the pain I felt. "Then why did you?" "It was a weak moment," Laura whispered. I turned to her, fury boiling beneath my skin. "A weak moment?" "You built a life on that moment." Tears streamed down her face. "I thought." "You thought what?" I snapped. "That I'd never find out?" Daniel shifted uncomfortably. "We were going to tell you. That was it." I slammed my fist against the table, making them both jump. "When?" My voice rose. "After another 6 years? When he calls you Dad instead of me." Neither answered. Cowards. I inhaled sharply, forcing control. Every fiber of my being wanted to break something. Them, preferably. But I had something better planned. "You destroyed my family," I said quietly, my voice lethal. "But I'm not walking away empty-handed." Their eyes widened as I turned and walked toward my office. I had already set my revenge in motion. They just didn't know it yet. I had spent years building a life I thought was real, but now, standing amidst the wreckage, I realized something chilling. I had wasted my love on a lie. But if Laura and Daniel thought they would get away with it, they were mistaken. 4 days, I played the part of the devastated husband, the betrayed best friend. I let them think I was broken, too shattered to act. Laura begged for forgiveness, Daniel avoided my calls, and I let them both believe I was drowning in sorrow. In reality, I was planning their downfall. Laura's greatest fear was losing everything, her cushy life, the stability I provided, and most of all, the perfect image she had crafted. Daniel, on the other hand, had much more to lose. A respected businessman, a father to 2 daughters with his wife, Claire. That's right. Daniel was married. And Claire had no idea. Step 1: Exposure. One evening, I sent an anonymous message to Claire, attaching the DNA results along with texts between Laura and Daniel, messages I had found by accessing Laura's cloud backup. Years of deceit, hidden away but never truly erased. The moment Claire read the message, the foundation of Daniel's life cracked. His wife wasn't just furious, she was ruthless. She filed for divorce the very next day, demanding full custody of their children, freezing bank accounts, and kicking him out of their home. Daniel called me in a panic, his voice trembling. "Claire knows," he whispered. "She's taking everything." "Good," I said coldly and hung up. Step 2. Financial ruin. Laura had been relying on my income for years. She had quit her job after Ethan was born, choosing the luxury of being a stay-at-home mother. She had no idea that while she was busy betraying me, I had been securing my finances elsewhere. That night, I drained our joint accounts, transferring every penny into an account under my name. I sold the house, yes, the very home we shared, without telling her. The papers had been signed weeks before I even confronted her. When Laura woke up to empty accounts and an eviction notice, she finally realized just how deep my revenge ran. She called me, her voice frantic. "What have you done?" I laughed, savoring the panic in her tone. "Taking back what's mine." "You can't do this," she screamed. "I already did." Step 3. Public humiliation. I didn't just want revenge. I wanted the world to know who they really were. I posted everything online. The affair, the DNA test results, the texts, the lies. The internet devoured the scandal. Laura's reputation shattered overnight, and Daniel became a joke in the business world. Clients pulled out, partnerships crumbled, and his name became synonymous with betrayal. He lost everything. And Laura? She had no money, no home, and nowhere to go. She begged. She cried. She swore she still loved me. But I had nothing left to give. As I stood outside, watching the moving trucks take the last of my things from the house we once shared, I felt no sadness, no regret, only satisfaction. Because I hadn't just exposed them. I had erased them from my life. The day I walked away from Laura and Daniel for good, I felt lighter than I had in years. Betrayal had nearly broken me, but instead of letting it destroy me, I used it to forge something stronger: freedom. Laura had lost everything. The home, the lifestyle, the security she had taken for granted. It was all gone. I had made sure of it. And Daniel? He was nothing more than a shell of the man he used to be. His wife, Claire, had taken their children and half his assets, leaving him in financial ruin. His once thriving business was collapsing, abandoned by clients who wanted nothing to do with a man exposed as a lying, cheating fraud. They had both betrayed me. Now they were suffering. Yet my revenge wasn't over. The final blow. Laura had been staying with a friend, barely surviving on what little savings she had left. She still had hope that I would forgive her, that I would eventually come crawling back, willing to rebuild what she had destroyed. She had no idea I had something far worse planned. One evening, I sent her a message. We need to talk. Meet me at the Ivy tomorrow at 7. It was a high-end restaurant, the kind of place we used to go to for anniversaries. I knew she would assume it meant reconciliation, a second chance, and she took the bait. When she arrived the next evening, she was dressed in the same red dress she had worn on our first date. She smiled at me, eyes shimmering with hope. "You look beautiful," I said smoothly, my voice devoid of warmth. Her smile widened, and she reached for my hand across the table. I knew we could fix this. I let her talk, let her spill empty apologies and promises of change. She had no idea that I had invited someone else to join us. 5 minutes into our meal, Claire walked in. Laura's face went pale as Claire slid into the seat beside me, her lips curling into a smirk. "Oh, don't stop on my account," she said, her voice dripping with mock sweetness. "I'd love to hear more about how you plan to win your husband back." Laura's eyes darted between us. "What is this?" I leaned back, taking a sip of my whiskey. "This is closure." Her expression twisted in confusion, but I didn't give her time to process. I pulled out a small envelope and slid it across the table. She hesitated before picking it up, her fingers trembling as she opened it. Inside were finalized divorce papers, papers I had prepared weeks ago. "You're going to sign those," I said calmly. Today. Her lips parted, her voice barely above a whisper. You! I already filed everything. But I wanted to do this in person, so you could understand something. I leaned in, my voice dangerously soft. You don't exist in my world anymore. You made your choice, and now you live with it. Tears welled in her eyes. Please, Claire scoffed. Save the waterworks, sweetheart. It's pathetic. Laura's gaze flicked to her, anger flashing in her eyes. You have no right. I have every right, Claire cut her off. Because thanks to you, I got rid of a lying, cheating husband and walked away with half of everything he owned. And I'm spending it very, very well. Laura turned back to me, desperation clear on her face. I love you, Jake. I stared at her, expression unreadable. Then I smiled, a slow, knowing smile that sent a fresh wave of panic through her. You know, I mused. I thought about revenge a lot. Thought about making you suffer the way I did. I picked up the divorce papers and tapped them against the table. But this is better. Because now you get to watch me move on. Her breath hitched. Move on. Claire leaned in, grinning. Didn't Jake tell you? We've been seeing each other for weeks. Laura's face crumpled. You're lying. I smirked. Am I? She searched my face for any hint of hesitation. She found none. I hate you, she whispered. I tilted my head. Then we're finally even. She grabbed the pen with shaking fingers and signed the papers. The moment the ink dried, I stood, adjusting my suit jacket. Goodbye, Laura. I walked away without looking back, Claire by my side. And for the first time in years, I felt free.